From Software released a new game, this time with Samurai, and it's been out for a bit, which means it's time for us to go through the tiresome ritual of someone somewhere bringing up the phrase easy mode, half of gamer culture having a collective cow about it, and the other half having a cow about the first half having had a cow. And you know, people ask me why this show used to be more of a comedy about fight scenes with magic ninjas. And it's because the alternative was having to actually engage directly with crap like this. I mean, we used to do puns. Don't you like puns?
I was actually wondering where the music was. The what now? Well, you said this was a karaoke bar. Oh, no. This is Gary Oak's bar. See?
Your green screen is terrible, and you should feel terrible about it.
Anyway.
Alright, so the TLDR here is that From Software is mostly known for making Dark Souls and its adjacent spin-offs and play-alikes, which are really granular, super hard hack-and-slash games, chiefly beloved by those who beloved them for being really difficult but in a fair way that doesn't cheat. So through trial and error you can really learn the systems and balance and teach yourself to be good enough so that it's not so difficult and success feels like a real accomplishment after a sense. They've also developed something of a unique stylistic aesthetic and internal mythology, which you really only get to see if you really do master that severe difficulty, which leads some to ask whether or not it would ever make sense to include an easy mode for novice or new players, or just those less skilled who'd like to see what the big deal is, and others to violently reject the idea on the basis that challenges what these games are all about, and thus circumventing that is missing the whole point, whatever that means. What I've never understood about that is, so what? Who cares? I genuinely don't see why this doesn't begin and end with if the developers want to include one they should, and if they don't they shouldn't the end. I mean, they publish large print books for people who can't see too well. They publish books in different languages for people who don't speak the original language. What's the big goddamn deal? I mean, shouldn't that be the end of it in any games conversation ever, unless you're like an investor or the developer's boss or anyone who has a financial stake in it and would have an opinion outside the bounds of what's best for creative integrity and player enjoyment? Otherwise, adjustable difficulty of any kind seems like the least controversial thing in the world to me, especially if you're not nerfing the rest of the game or taking anything out. No one's making you play an easy version if you don't want to. Nothing tangible's getting lost on your end and other people are gaining. That's the kind of win-win that only gets to happen in video games. We should celebrate the fact that this is one of the things that makes this hobby so cool. It can create new spaces without removing or decreasing an existing space. Almost nothing else can say that. But instead you always wind up with an angry blowback that's furious at the very idea someone else might get to enjoy this or that game in a different way than you did, or seeing the ending without putting in the work, or getting good like you did. And so what? It's a game, it's a toy, it's for fun, leisure. It's not your job or your life. It's something to do to unwind from your job and life, isn't it? Because if it's not, I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, it's part of my job, but I live in a TV, and I'm miserable. Look, I'm not denigrating the achievement of beating a hard game on hard, but someone else doing it on easy doesn't take away from that, does it? You know you did it, and you're the only one that can really matter to. There's not a cash prize or a social advancement of any real kind, or a tangible benefit to this other than the sense of personal pride, which is entirely subjective to the individual. Plus, it is a video game, fellas. Like, Dark Souls isn't boot camp, you're not training for anything. Even Flight Simulator isn't an actual flight simulator. To be honest, I don't even get this attitude when it comes to actual sports. Like, every couple of years, there's a new crop of assholes has kids in youth sports for the first time and freaks out about participation trophies, and we get these douchebag articles about how if everyone gets a trophy just to feel good about themselves, they'll grow up not learning the hard lessons of losing and achievement and not believing that meritocracy exists. Okay, first off, meritocracy does not exist. Holy shit, did you not see what Aunt Becky might be going to jail for? Look, even if it did exist, any meritocracy that's ever been instituted or attempted to be instituted in the history of human civilization has only ever lasted as long as it's taken the first rich and or powerful man to raise an idiot son that he didn't hate. And then that shit went right out the window and Prince Dumbass II inherited everything anyway. Secondly, yeah, I'm really sure that you did your best trophy that he got in T-ball is what taught your kid that the world doesn't run on justice or merit, and not like murderers not going to jail, Bad cops not going to jail, presidents not going to jail. Pull the other one, bro. Now this makes me especially raw because I come from the era of Nintendo hard and arcade difficulty that this whole get good attitude fetishizes, back when games were broken and super hard to make them challenging and replayable, so I know firsthand that the idea that we just practiced till we were good at it was bullshit. No, we didn't. We cheated. Game magazines and help guides and tip lines weren't full of strategies and ways to time out your jumps and finger exercises to work on your reflexes. They were full of codes and cheats, places to clip through the walls, ways to unlock the developer menu and skip ahead to the end, extra life modes to turn you into a bullet sponge, passwords to unlock all the gear without earning it. Hell, do you know what this is? This is called a Game Genie. It's an override key you'd put between the cartridge and the console so you could hack the game with codes without having to actually learn to code.
I use it when I want to live forever. Play to the end and win. Maybe I want to start on level 15. No problemo. It makes cool games like Street Fighter 2 more exciting. Less frustrating. With Game Genie, it ain't over. So we say it's over. Excellent!
Game Genie for NES, Super NES, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy.
Yeah, so much for retro hard. Look, if developers don't want to put in easy mode, that's their call, but I see no reason for anyone to have an issue with accessibility being added to a game when no one's forcing you to use it. And if you're worried that the option will be too tempting for you to use if it is there, well, maybe you should get good at resisting that. Just a thought.